Welcome. This is David Boles, Human Meme. Today's topic, love in an Anodyne Age. Now, the first working title of this podcast was Love in the Age of Computers. But I decided to change it to Love in an Anodyne Age because we are more than our computers and less than our complicity, and the problem we are seeking is found and answered in a quantification of ideas. In a previous Human Meme podcast, The Undiagnosed and the Accused, Asperger's and the Internet, we discussed labeling in the age of the virtuality of things and the hardness of some definitions, and also how a fatherless child today can fill the empty niches of a boyhood with YouTube videos and social media verification and still feel fulfilled as a son. And that podcast led to this podcast, Love in an Anodyne Age, because we're on to something here and we need to take a look at how we love and how we connect and how we have sex in an increasingly non-human but uncanny world. I am reminded of a great quote from the great playwright Eugene O'Neill, who said in 1920, "The greatest challenge to mankind over the next century will be the failure of science and technology to replace the death of the old God." As ever, Eugene O'Neill was right, and the love of the old God, fostered in fear and brightened with obedience, goes against the way of our modern world. When man began believing in himself and not the gods, for fortune and for self-help and for religiosity and even morality, the old world crumbled, and man was alone, on his own, without a way out, and nothing else to believe in but his own hard hands, and that became believing in plastics and metal and the man-made and the ethereal. The uncanny world of the old ways were disrupted as niches and pyramid thinking and the gods tumbled from the top of the food chain. And so, here we are today, still searching in the dark and the cold for some warm human connection. Dating is now swiping a finger on a screen. Dates don't even happen in the same room in real time now. It's all about how you look, and if you're attracted to the look. There's no talk of attraction of deeds or morality or similarly shared right thinking. It's only the surface that matters. And so we have become a world of the infantilized, the Neolithic, the narcissistic, the sterile, heartless, and the prosaic. We live and love in a branded desert of the bland and the disenchanted. We have no passion, no blood, no fire. We are holograms of ourselves, thin, transparent, visions of what we used to be. Sex is now clicking online instead of touching each other. We now admire numbers and facts and descriptions instead of figures. There's no touching allowed. In 20 years, nobody will be having sex to make babies because, it will be argued, there are easier, safer, cleaner ways to get that dirty deed done. Has the rise of Uber killed the backseat makeout session? If we are driven by robot cars, who will need to own a car? Kiss your steamy windows goodbye. We have become computational adversaries with a technology that cannot soothe us or save us. And so we must obey as our new gods take over the top of the pyramid to proclaim love and life to us in only the bits and bytes that those robot overlords will allow. You know, there was a time when people interested in making a life together would date for 1 year. The idea was to go through each of the 4 seasons together, to see and know each other over a stretch of time. Today, that's too long. Plus, we really don't have seasons anymore. On the East Coast of the United States, we now have 2 seasons, summer and fall. Spring and winter are but feeble impersonations of their previous furies. And what about the heart of family love? Sunday dinners. Pretty much gone. All replaced with fast food and FaceTime. The love that was shared around a table in the quiet company of others is vanished. And few people seem to care because they care more about counting their social media likes than tallying their deficits. Now, sex, in an anodyne world, is actually the most interesting change in the world of the godless acolyte. From real dolls, you can read an article about that on bolesblogs.com, and sex with rubber women, and self-love with men, who are represented as a plasticized body part. And so we have concocted this recipe against us and created a definition for what it means to be connected in a modern world. And it is a virtually sad and nonchalant, lonesome place. Yes, sex for pleasure and sex for reproduction are now unimportant, as private pleasure online takes the forefront of desirous release, and sex in a petri dish has already been done a long while ago. Her name is Louise Joy Brown, and she was the first test tube baby born in the world July 25, 1978. And then there's Barney Clark, a dentist by trade, who willingly, at the end of his life, took the hit to make history, a short history, with the first fake heart implant. And at the time, I wondered about that transplant. The center of love, the beating heart, can a machine replace that? I decided, after watching Barney recover, the answer was no. However, the University of Utah is proud of their history in this heartlessness, as this breathless press release from 2012 confirms. Outside the University of Utah hospital windows, a blizzard swirled. Inside, another kind of power, not the least bit natural, was about to be set in motion. 30 years ago, on December 2nd, 1982, in the darkest hours of the morning, cardiothoracic surgeon William DeVries, MD, carefully removed the ravaged heart of Dr. Barney Clark, a heart that tore like tissue paper due to years of treatment with steroids, and replaced it with the world's first permanent artificial heart. Known as the Jarvik 7, named after former U of U physician and inventor Robert Jarvik, MD, this aluminum and polyurethane device was connected to a 400-pound air compressor that would accompany Clark for the rest of his life, all 112 days of it. All of that was from the original press release from the University of Utah. I made none of it up. I added nothing. I copy and pasted it to read it to you. So my poor acting does not do justice to the overweening drama in that press release. So the heart of us has always been the human center of the meaning of being connected to each other and in the iconic understanding of love. Through technology and medicine, we have made ourselves seamless and heartless. Anodyne in repose. We are both soothing and self-immolating because we cannot choose between life and death, or the sun or the moon, or the beating human heart and the braying Metal Gear. How did we lose our sacred heart in this sea of sleepy poetry, where we once used to speak from experience and divined emotion? We now use greeting cards and emojis and phone calls to replace the touch of human hand-holding. And we are cheaper in the exchange of heart for malfunction. We have fooled ourselves that virtuality is healing and positive, when our lives, in fact, are just the opposite. We are more lonely than lonesome. We hope for 100 connections and likes and social friends and online paramours because we can't find one of any of that standing next to us in real life. So we go searching for what we've read about and what has been romanticized in art and literature and common culture through the ages of us. Happiness, love, understanding, acceptance, and we come up cold, empty, unexonerated. We tease this idea of us and pretend to play along for history's sake. But in expectation and execution, we are circular and damaged. And there's no going back to the way things were. We can only try to reinvent our ideas of love and connecting as the world spins along without us, and we try in vain to resurrect the old God in the machine. All the heart is gone. The concentric circles of who we are and what we believe have spiraled beyond us by choice. Sex is replaced with a glass tube and a syringe, and a heart is metal and mesh with no pulse other than its own unholy piston engines. But we can still make a life with love. We can change the heart. We can find other ways to feel the real pulse and the blood warmth of another hand. And we will find it in friendship or in our enemies. So we must choose our path wisely and winsomely, because to make no choice between the heavens and the grave is to accept a dead future, where the hologram becomes you without you. Thank you for listening. Be a human meme.